Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Hafeezat. I am a current events and lifestyle blogger, vlogger, YouTuber, Instagrammer, social media marketer, the whole 9 yards, and I am back for the time being. It feels so great to be in front of this camera. That's what the word is, not the screen, the camera. It's a bit weird for me to be doing this just because I have not filmed a video in a couple months. I even have some videos that I still want to edit and share, but for the time being I wanted to talk about this because I feel really strongly about this topic, number one, and number two, as a musical theater fan, I had to say something about this movie. So if you couldn't tell by the title of my video, we're going to be doing a review of In the Heights, and we're going to be talking about one of the topics that recently came up in the criticisms of the movie, which was Donde Están los Afro-Latinos, or where are the Afro-Latino people in the movie. But before I continue with this video, just two things. If you're new here, please peruse my other videos, and if you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe on those, and then come back here and watch everything that I'm going to be talking about here. And number two, I love the movie, and I'm not making this video to discredit the actors or the director or anything of that nature. This is not to hate, but this is to just kind of open up this conversation about colorism and anti-blackness and whatnot when it comes to the Hollywood and TV film industry as a whole. Like I said, this is not to bash any of the actors or their work or whatever the case may be. This is simply just taking the critiques that were being brought up and just discussing about it. So yeah, no messiness from me. If you're looking for messiness, you're not gonna get it. So let me zoom out just a little bit though. I normally film with my bed and stuff in the background, but it's a mess over there, and I was like, if I don't film this now, I'm never gonna film this, and it's gonna be too late. And also I was like, am I even relevant? So I was trying to find ways to kind of just delay me filming, but I was like, nope, this has to be done, so let's get it done. So we're getting it done. Okay, so like I always do, I have my iPad here just so I can read my notes, and I also have some screenshots here of just different quotes and everything that I've been reading about the situation, just so I can just be sharing more and more perspectives throughout the video. So yeah, I watched In the Heights last night with my friend Cassandra, and when I tell you I have to watch it again, it was words could not describe how beautiful and powerful that movie was. It absolutely exceeded all my expectations. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I am briefly aware of In the Heights, the Broadway musical. I've listened to the soundtrack. I have not watched it in its entirety just because I wasn't able to see it in Broadway, and I have not found any bootlegs yet, so feel free to send them my way. But I knew vaguely enough of the story. I read the story via Wikipedia to know what I was expecting when I got into it, but it exceeded expectations, not only from the imagery, but also the acting and the singing and the dance numbers, as well as the illustrations. They used a lot of different artistic ways to bring the story to life, and I truly loved that. So some of the things that I really enjoyed from the movie was the music. Like I said, every single person on that ensemble can sing. They were singing so great. It was beautiful. My heart literally stopped during Leslie Grace's and Melissa Barrera's solos. They were fantastic. They sing so beautifully. Chef's kiss. I'm gonna listen to the soundtrack over and over again because it's just so great. I also realized this was my first time seeing that many black and brown people on screen, all together in that large of a setting. I've never seen that before, in my entire life when it comes to movies, ever. It's always, maybe a couple here and there, but the entire ensemble, yes, the main cast and also the backgrounds and everything like that, black and brown everywhere. It made me so happy. I was just smiling from ear to ear because I felt so seen. It was great. I loved Benny. Corey, if you're looking for just a girlfriend or a wife, if you're not taken already, I'm here for you. I'm ready, That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Benny was great. He was funny, he was charismatic, he was sensitive, he was handsome, he can sing. Great, wonderful, loved Benny. I also really loved Usnavi's daughter. She was so pretty, but she was also so funny, and her smile was literally so engaging and magnetic. Like, you could not be drawn to that daughter's little cute face. Like, I loved her so much. All of the comedic relief, you know, was so well timed. Like, I don't think there was a moment where it wasn't needed. Like, I was laughing at each one. Like, nothing fell flat. Sonny especially was really great with the comedic relief throughout the movie. Like, I loved him and I loved his character. And what I also really loved was how they brought up the idea of him being an undocumented immigrant, and the idea of, like, you know, DACA and the Dreamers and everything like that, because that's been a conversation that's happened a couple of, you know, recently, especially with the past Trump administration and how they were trying to block DACA recipients from being able to access things such as college, which is what he was really looking forward to, because he looked up to Nina and everything like that. Oh, by the way, I haven't said this yet, but if you haven't watched it and you care about spoilers, don't watch this video, because this is going to be a whole spoiler thing. I don't care about spoilers because I have anxiety and I don't like not knowing what I'm going to be watching. So I read everything and I listen to everything. If you're like me, then this is fine. But if you're not like me, please go watch the movie first or read about it first before you come here. But yeah, Sonny was great. I loved him. He was so funny, and like his flow was really, really good too. Like, everybody who's like rapping and singing, like I said, they were all really, really talented in that aspect. I also really loved the dancing as a body of storytelling throughout the movie. If you don't know, Latina people are really, really good dancers. Just like, you know, a lot of other ethnic backgrounds, but especially them, like merengue, bachata, salsa, flamenco, like all of these different, like, they are great at dancing. The Dominican men, like in the movie, like they were moving their feet so fast. Like the footwork that Dominicans do, like it's unfathomable. Like, it was great. Like, I loved seeing it all. So I was just dancing in my seat, everything like that, like doing my little two-step, like but it was really, that's literally how it was. Like, it was so great. I really loved it. So yeah, that's what I loved from the movie. Now, what I disliked, not a lot of the songs, like 3 or 4 of the songs from the movie were cut, and we don't know why. Because the funny thing is, the soundtrack of the movie, I believe, is longer than the soundtrack of the original play, and the movie's 2 hours and 30 minutes, which, by the way, I was worried that it was going to, there's a spider, 1 second, sorry, but I thought that it was going to, what's it called, I thought that the movie was gonna drag and like it would be too long. Like, they could have been able to just, like, you know, bring it down. But 2 hours and 30 minutes was absolutely perfect for it, I think. Especially since it is a Broadway show, and Broadway shows are typically around that time too. I mean, with, like, yes, intermission, but I think it was fine. But because of that length, I'm surprised that they didn't fit every single song from the original play into the movie. So that was one issue that I had. Another issue that I had was that they randomly cut out Nina's mom. She was just dead, and they gave no explanation as to why she was dead. So they changed the lyrics in Breathe. So instead of saying, "And what would my parents say?" she says, "And how do I dare to say?" And I was just like, don't hit the same, because Breathe is my favorite song from In the Heights. It's my favorite song. It's my favorite solo. I wanted to sing that solo so many times throughout middle school and high school. Never got the guts to, because I could not hit those high notes, like, you know, towards the end and everything like that. But it's my favorite song. So when I heard that lyric change, I was just like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I did not like how they styled Nina's natural hair. Did not like that at all. You know, she came in with a nice silk press in the beginning, and then, like, you know, she leaves with her hair wet and everything like that, so it dries up into her curls. I'm like, girl, I know you got curls, but they couldn't have given you like a better wig or whatnot. And if that's her actual hair, then they should have styled it better. But if it was a wig that they gave her, they needed a better wig. and I just want to talk to whoever the hairstylist was, because it wasn't doing it for me. Like, it looked really unnatural, and I was like, they definitely could have done better. I liked when they styled it up in the ponytail, like a high ponytail like this, like that was cute, but when it was just out and down, it didn't look nice. So I did not like that aspect. You can see, like, these are very minimal things that I'm disliking. I love what Lin-Manuel has done, you know, recently within the Heights and Hamilton, but he needs to stop inserting himself into his pieces of work. I saw his face like 5-6 times total in this movie, and I was just like, bro, you're supposed to be like handing the baton, you know, to the next generation. Like, get out. Like, he found a way to just say something here and say something there, and I was just like, bro, like, just let it be. Also, he grew out his beard for this, or he wore a fake beard, I don't know, and I was just like, that's not a look, bro. It's not. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. So yeah, that's my mini review about In the Heights. Overall, I give it a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna be watching it again. Like I said, me and my friends, we're gonna go see it again together, because we saw it separately the first time. I saw it with a different friend. They saw it with their friends and partners and whatnot, but we're gonna get together, we're gonna see it. I'm not emotionally ready again, but it's gonna be fine. Yeah, so yeah, 10 out of 10. It was great. But like I said, this is not just a review, but it's also a commentary on the recent claims of, you know, colorism, lack of black actors, etc. And we're gonna talk about that now. Now, on the topic of colorism, so some people know, some people don't know. I was born in the Bronx, not raised in the Bronx, barely lived there before my parents moved us to New Jersey. But I have family who live in the Bronx, Queens, Yonkers, all parts of New York. I've been to New York like at least once a week, every day of my life. I've gone on the trains, I've worked there, I've been in the hospitals, like everything. My parents both work in the Bronx. Like I claim it as one of my homes, essentially, because I know if I were to like ever be there, like I wouldn't feel uncomfortable, I would never feel out of place. I can't claim it because obviously, again, like I'm a New Jerseyan, you know, Jersey girls, we don't pump gas. But oh god, I hate myself. But anyways, I know New York, and I've seen New York, and I've interacted with New York, and I've especially interacted with those barrios like the Bronx, Washington Heights, etc. So what I loved was that, yes, the ensembles, I feel, were like a pretty good reflection of how Washington Heights looks. But the main cast deviated from the rest of the ensemble. So while every actor in their specific roles did amazingly, you know, the criticism is valid. Leslie Grace identifies as Afro-Latina. She is Dominican, and there was also Corey, who is a black man. But they could have had maybe 1 or 2 more Afro-Latinos, Afro-Latinas, Afro-Latine people. Or they could have, you know, had darker skinned Latinos in it too, because the majority of them were lighter skinned in the main ensemble. So those criticisms that are coming up about colorism are valid, because again, the ensemble was really nice, like the dance ensemble and like the backgrounds and everything like that, but delegating those darker skinned people to the background is an issue. And when the main cast is not reflective of that, it's bound to be criticized. So I understand where people are coming from. What I'm not even truly mad about is the cast makeup. I would have loved to see a darker skinned Afro-Latine person like in one of those roles, like in the main cast or whatnot, but I'm not even mad at them, because like I said, they did a phenomenal job. They did an absolutely great job playing their roles. Like, I feel as if they truly embodied their roles. I have no complaints about how they performed. But my issue is is with the responses to the criticism or the responses to being confronted. So Felice Leon is an Afro-Cuban journalist, and she is a producer for The Roots. And if you don't know The Roots is a black news platform, and they report on all things black and pop culture, essentially. So she identifies as Afro-Cuban. If you see her, she's clearly a black woman, and she had the opportunity to interview Leslie Grace, Melissa Barrera, John Chu, who was the director of the movie, and she asked them, you know, what do you say about the lack of darker skinned Afro-Latina people within your main ensemble? And my issue was, again, not with the actors, but their reactions and their responses, the actors and directors. So Chu is like, you know, that's definitely a conversation to be had, and we hear that all the time, that this is a conversation to be had, but when does conversation become action, you know? And like, some people are saying, don't attack them, don't attack In the Heights, because so many people were still able to relate to it. And I don't see it as attacks, but I see it as genuine concerns of not feeling seen, because while there were people who felt seen, there were a lot of other people who didn't feel seen, you know, in the main ensemble. So their criticisms were valid. So we can have this conversation, but if this conversation doesn't turn into tangible action afterwards, then it's just talk, you know. That's all it is. So when Chu said that, I was just a bit annoyed, because I was like, bro, like what do you mean? And not only that, but he asked her, he was like, didn't you see the black and darker skinned Afro-Latino people in the dances and the music ensembles? And I was like, and what she said was really, really important. Felice said, while that's great, black people have never had an issue being in the background or being casted to be in the background. Black people have never had an issue being casted as the dancers, as the background singers. Have you noticed that many artists, many musical artists, oftentimes their background singers are black? You want to know why? Black people have soulful voices. We do, and their voices are really great, so they're obviously gonna sound great in backing tracks and when they go on tour or when they have concerts on Jimmy Fallon or whatever the case may be. Have you noticed that? We are often relegated to the behind the scenes, you know, or the support. It's not necessarily in the front, which is what Felice was bringing up. In terms of the actresses, oof, I feel like Leslie had the most remorse, because again, she identifies as Afro-Latina, and she says that she even has, like, you know, her own family and siblings that are darker skinned than her, and she really hopes to see them reflected in screen. But I think Melissa had a bit of a disconnect with where the issue was coming from, and I hope that she ends up learning from this and doesn't, you know, maybe say anything else kind of like out of line, because her comments weren't necessarily the best either. They were a bit tone deaf. She said, in regards to the question that Felice asked, you know, well, you know, there were Afro-Latina people that did come to the auditions. There were many of them, but they ended up choosing who was right for the role, you know, who they felt was going to do the role right. And we hear that excuse many times. When it comes to being chosen for a job, for example, when you ask employers, why don't you have black people or other people of color on your team? And they'll be like, well, you know, we're just choosing the right people for the job. So there's no black people that are right for this job, this very standard job that black people are able to do in other companies. That's how it sounds. So when she said that, you know, it really struck a chord with me, because I don't like the idea of, you know, black people not being seen as worthy enough to pursue this role or do it very well, because there are many Afro-Latina people that are able to take the role that she did or other roles that the rest of the main cast did and do them equally as well, you know. And we're going to hear more about them later, because I'm going to talk more about that. But when I heard that, I did not like that. She also said in an interview, which again, I did not like, because it's kind of just like, you know, lumping things together. Felice wrote in a write-up of her interview with them, I had an opportunity to speak with the film's director and several of the cast members like Leslie Grace, Corey Hawkins, and Melissa Barrera, who said the following when asked about the light-skin privilege in the Heights. We are all people of color, and we all struggle for the few spaces that we're given. And to diminish that and like hate on something that is already breaking so many molds is mean. To put criticism about light skin privilege and colorism in these types of things as mean is very diminishing of genuine concerns about lack of representation. And it's the same thing, you know, I've had friends, I've had people say, listen, why are we attacking them? Why aren't we attacking the many other places that don't even try to represent us properly? And I'm like, you know what? You're right, to a certain extent. Just because they did this thing, which is groundbreaking, does not mean that they can be without critique too. Everything is worthy of critique. And we need to remember that critique does not mean, oh, we hate it, oh, it's terrible, etc. But that we want them to do better. And this is not even being put on, you know, again, the actors. You know, this is more for like the directors, the writers, the producers, the casting directors. I saw that the casting people were both white people. If you're gonna cast a movie, you know, have people that are going to be within that movie reflected also in the behind the scenes, because it makes a lot of a difference. It makes way more of a difference than you think. So those responses to being asked about those things, those are the things that rubbed me the wrong way, not even like, you know, the overall movie. Lin-Manuel also ended up releasing an apology, and we can also talk about that because apparently, like, you know, he's been trying to have an In the Heights movie for so long. He even wanted this earlier than like 2020, but he faced a lot of obstacles. So in his apology, what he said was, I started writing In the Heights because I didn't feel seen, and over the past 20 years, all I wanted was for us, all of us, to feel seen. I'm seeing the discussion around Afro-Latino representation in our film this weekend, and it is clear that many in our dark-skinned Afro-Latino community don't feel sufficiently represented within it, particularly among the leading roles. I can hear the hurt and frustration over colorism, of feeling still unseen in the feedback. I hear that without sufficient dark-skinned Afro-Latino representation, the work feels extractive of the community we wanted so much to represent with pride and joy. In trying to paint a mosaic of this community, we fell short. I'm truly sorry. I'm learning from the feedback. I thank you for raising it, and I'm listening. I'm trying to hold space for both the incredible pride in the movie we made and be accountable for our shortcomings. Thank you for your honest feedback. I promise to do better in my future projects, and I'm dedicated to the learning and evolving we all have to do to make sure we are honoring our diverse and vibrant community. Siempre, Lin-Manuel Miranda. And while I have my own personal qualms with Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think that apology was sufficient. Many people are obviously in his comments saying you don't need to apologize for anything, you did a good job, people are just haters, yada yada yada. But I'm tired of calling people who critique things that they don't feel represent them as haters. We're not haters, we want things to do better, like I said. And in terms of, you know, him trying to get In the Heights passed, it had a lot of issues, and I'm gonna link down the article below that kind of shares that. But Miranda noted, while he adores West Side Story, the success of the original movie established the wrong expectations for generations of projects with Latino leads. In the Heights had no gangs or murderous revenge plots, just big dreams. They can't imagine us writing about ourselves with love and joy, he said. And I didn't have any star power to offer. All I had was this show that people liked. A lot of the producers and whatnot, when he was trying to find people to like take on his movie, they wanted people like Jennifer Lopez, etc., like the big name Latina people that you think of when you think of the Latina community in Hollywood and whatnot. But he didn't want that. He wanted people who are more on the ground, more reflective of the general community of Washington Heights and In the Heights. Not only that, but like he said, In the Heights does not deal with anything negative at all. Like, no negative connotations towards the Latina community, no gangs, no murders, no nothing like that, no knife fights, nothing like that. Like, that's not what they want in Hollywood. They want to continue to perpetuate stereotypes of Latina people as well as other people of color. That's why it's so hard to greenlight certain things when it comes to our stories, because it doesn't fit the realm of what they believe. I remember this one writer said that in a college course that she had, she wrote an essay about her home, and the professor said that her story of her own home where she grew up was inaccurate because of their their internal biases of what her home was supposed to be like and how they viewed her through stereotypes, they didn't believe that her depiction of her home was accurate. How are you going to tell somebody that they don't depict their home accurately? Are you living there? Do you know where they live? Do you know where they are? No, you've never been there, so you can't say anything. That's the same thing with this. When it comes to Hollywood, Hollywood wants to continue perpetuating the same stories over and over again about people of color, and we're tired of it. That's why movies like Black Panther, Crazy Rich Asians, and In the Heights are seen as, you know, breakthroughs and breaking that mold. And we see it in smaller projects too. We saw it with The Photograph, a black love story that had nothing to do with dying, like Queen and Slim, or Insecure, again with Issa Rae. A great show, has nothing to do with gangs, or I mean, we do have somebody who's in a gang, but like, you know, he's comedic relief. He's not anything like serious. It's talking about friendships and money and all of these different things that general black millennials deal with, you know, in this time. Insecure has nothing negative or nothing stereotypical to offer, you know. And first of all, I applaud HBO Max, because HBO Max is the one that continues to take these types of stories. HBO Max helped release In the Heights. HBO Max has Insecure, and they continue to take these types of stories that break those molds. But even though they are breaking molds, they are still not without critique. And I'm going to keep repeating that, because I think that people think that if you're within a marginalized identity, that you can't be touched. You know, that your work cannot be criticized without it coming from a racist or hater lens. And that's no, because white people even say that too, like, oh, you think you're all that because you're such and such thing, you think you can't be critiqued. And like, no, we're allowed to be critiqued, obviously, as long as your critiques are genuine. Because if your critiques aren't genuine, then be quiet and shut your mouth, like, obviously. So if we continue to classify critiques on these types of things as hater or out of place or whatnot, you know, nothing will ever get done and there will never be progress. For example, Rita Moreno, she is a Puerto Rican, which I didn't even know who she was until she opened her mouth on the Stephen Colbert show. And she said, why can't people just wait? You know, why do they have to say something now? It's like, it's giving, like I tweeted it, it's like giving shut up N-words and take the scraps that you got. That's literally what she said to us. She was like, be quiet about it. Don't speak about it now. Speak about it later. No, because if we don't speak about it now, when is it ever going to be addressed? When is it ever going to be spoken about? You know? Rita Moreno's comments is a common practice in Hollywood. You know, darker skinned people are always seen as an afterthought. Darker skinned people of all ethnicities, not just Latina, black, but all ethnicities, you know? And it's always a we'll figure it out next time, you know? And it's like, why not figure it out now? Like, why do we have to push it to, I mean, yes, the thing is already produced, it's already created, like we can't like go back in time and fix it, obviously, but it's like, let us have these conversations now. Let's not just be like, okay, let's just be quiet about it now and then move later, because that's silencing people, and we don't want to silence people. That's not what we're here for. You know, for black people, we always have lighter skin or biracial people playing monoracial black people, and the darker skinned black individuals are always an afterthought or made secondary characters. You know, they will either be secondary characters in the film, or like, for example, they will cast like, you know, a light-skinned actress with like a big name, Amanda, and they will put her in a family of darker skinned individuals. And I'm just like, you know, I did not, you know, get science that much, but I passed biology in high school, and Punnett squares made it really clear that Amanda does not equal this dark-skinned black woman plus this dark-skinned black man. Like, that's not, it's not working. And it's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with casting light-skinned people or biracial people, but they have their own stories to tell too. Like, don't put them into these stories that they don't necessarily fit in, or don't always cast them as black, because it's not an accurate representation. For example, I know this person showed that showed how many light-skinned women were in, you know, or girls like were in like, you know, Netflix's like catalog. It was the majority, any show that had to do with like a black character or a black lead or whatever like that was under the age of 25, they were all light skinned. All light skinned. All the secondary characters were the darker skinned ones. Why are we never put in the spotlight, you know? Not casting darker skinned black women or black people in general makes us ask, you know, are we not your depiction of what it means to be black? Like, do we not fit into that mold? As Told by Kenya did a really good video about this in regards to Kenya Barris and his world of, like, you know, blackish and greenish and why his stuff is problematic. So I'm gonna link that down below. I highly recommend it. But yeah, it's annoying. Oftentimes if they do cast dark-skinned black women, she's often like the sassy black friend of the main white or lighter-skinned POC character. We saw it in High School Musical, the series The Musical. We've seen it in Good Luck Charlie. We've seen it in many other shows. If not that, then they're seen as the therapist, which I believe is the modern-day Mammy. And if you don't know what the Mammy trope is, it's basically the black woman that's caring and nurturing and takes care of you. So I see casting black women in therapist roles as that. Do we have black women therapists? Yes. Are all black women therapists? No. Are all black women treated as therapists? Yes. Essentially, that's what, like, you know, Hollywood sees us as for, you know, conduits for the lighter skinned people's growth. That's all darker skinned individuals are seen as. And it's terrible because what about our growth? What about our character development? We saw it. I made a video about it. Aisha in the Winx adaptation literally has no substance. We don't know anything about her background except that she's a really good swimmer and that she's a princess herself or whatever the case may be. But they don't dive deep into her story. They dive deep into everybody else's story but her. Everybody else has a heart arc but her. And it's insane because it's like, she deserves a fuller story too. So I hope that they elaborate more on her character, particularly in the season 2 version, because the season 2 hopefully is coming soon. But it's not giving what it's supposed to give. I had to switch out SD cards because I'm talking way too much and I'm taking up room. But anyways, that's how it is when it comes to casting black roles. But another example is with Crazy Rich Asians. The movie was also criticized by darker skinned Asian people for its lack of representation of darker skinned cast members in the main roles, like the main lead roles. They were also issues with like the whitewashing of certain roles. For example, Henry Golding is only half Asian. Things of that nature that they were talking about because they felt that it perpetuates the idea that, you know, Asians that are mixed with white are immediately better, etc. Beautiful. I'm not Asian. I'm not East Asian specifically, so I'm not able to talk about those things. Definitely do your research, Google. I will try to find some things to link down to talk about those criticisms as well. But they were also criticized for that thing, and you know, and when you saw darker skinned Asian characters in the movie, they were delegated to the help, you know, security, maids, etc., you know, or like, you know, more in the poorer areas of Singapore, you know, not in the wealthy elite, etc. They were sometimes even characterized as menacing. For example, when Peiklin and Rachel roll up to the big party that they are going to for the grandmother's birthday or whatever the case may be, they're confronted by these guards, you know, who are darker skinned, and they act menacing, like they're big guns and spears and whatnot before they're able to enter into the party. So it's things like that. Black people and other people of color in general have been designated to the background for so long in Hollywood. They've been casted as secondary or tertiary or just background ensemble characters for the entire time, you know, especially darker skinned individuals within those different ethnicities. Not only that, but they've never been even given their flowers, you know, or their due diligence. There have been very few Oscar nominated people who are of color, and we've been having many firsts recently in 2020, 2021, you know, and it's wild because the Academy, you know, the Grammys, etc., have been here for decades. and they're now just giving black people and other people of color their flowers. It's really annoying. Black people, other people of color, other darker skinned characters should not be content with being casted as the dancers or waitress number 5. You know, they deserve leading roles as well. We have many who are able to do this work tremendously. We have Viola Davis, Issa Rae, Quinta Brunson, you know, and if you want to talk about Afro-Latine characters who are actually Afro-Latine, who identify as Afro-Latine, who represent the Afro-Latine community. You have Yolanda Noel, who's Afro-Panamanian. We have Jarrell Jerome, who's Afro-Dominican. We have Gina Torres, who I also believe is Afro-Dominican. Like, we have so many different people who are able to fill those roles. Jarrell Jerome even performed as Usnavi, I believe, in his high school's presentation of In the Heights. Why wasn't he called for this? You know, like, he would have been amazing. He would have done whatever role that they had given him a tremendous good job, you know, in it. And I get it, you know, Anthony Ramos and Lin-Manuel have a really great relationship, as well as many of the people that he put in the movie. Some people reprised their roles from the Broadway show, while other people kind of came from the old Broadway show and took on different roles, like Chris Jackson. He came back. He originally played Benny on Broadway, but he came back as Mr. Softy, which, by the way, he looked really great in that, so I loved that. But yeah, there are so many Afro-Latino people who are non-ambiguous, might I add. You know, you don't have to question whether they're Afro-Latino or not. You can just tell that they are, that are available, and I think that they should not be considered an afterthought when it comes to these things. So I really hope that there is a step forward with that. There are some works that are already doing that for us, so if you want to watch those things, definitely look out for them. I know a lot of people were praising Vampires versus the Bronx. They said that that was a really good characterization of the Bronx, so I will link that down below for you all to watch if you want to watch that. Not only that, but these people that I mentioned, specifically like the Afro-Latine people, are not recognized by the Latino community, the Latine community, forgive me, because they are black. It's plain and simple. John Leguizamo, when the Emmys nominations came about, he was upset because he was like, where are the, first of all, might I add, he was responding to the fact that there was a lot of awards for black people, and he was upset. He was like, when is it our turn for the Latine people? When is it their turn? Did he not recognize the fact that Jarrell Jerome is a Dominican man? And that he won an Emmy for his work in, you know, When They See Us? It talks about the colorism and the anti-blackness that's within the Latine community, which again, I can't speak on fully because I'm not a part of that community, but I've studied it and I've seen it, you know, firsthand, that there is a significant amount of colorism and anti-black racism within the Latine community throughout Latin America. You can see it for yourself when you ever travel there and you see like the social hierarchies and the discrepancies. There's blatant racist like, you know, figures and art and things of that nature in the Dominican Republic. There's a lot of different sentiments about black people and darker skinned individuals within those countries. So again, do your research, look into it. So when John Leguizamo was like, where are the Latino people? They're there. You're just not seeing them as your own when they are yours, you know? And oftentimes they're typecasted to play black roles because Hollywood also does not recognize them as Latine. Something that Gina Torres said was that, you know, Hollywood doesn't want to cast Latina people like me. They want to cast Latina people who look like Italians. You know, they want to cast the lighter skinned ones. They don't see me as an embodiment of what it means to be Latine, which is wrong. That's wrong because that's her upbringing. That's her truth. That's how she lived. That's how she grew up. You can't take that away from her just because she's a darker skinned person. Darker skinned Afro-Latine people deserve to play Latine roles. Continually casting them in black roles denies them the opportunity to explore their Afro-Latine heritage on the big screen, and it also erases the history of Latin America and a whole group of people when they do that. So that's pretty much it. I have nothing else to say really. I have been filming now for like 38 minutes. I'm hoping to get this under 30 minutes. We'll see how that works. But that's my whole thing about this situation. Like I said, amazing job to the cast and crew of In the Heights. Like, it was a beautiful movie. I'm going to watch it again. Like, I loved it. Like, I really loved it. I have no bad things to say about it, minus the casting issues. That's literally all I had to say. I definitely encourage folks who might not be 100% understanding of why people are upset with how the movie did to definitely look into it, to definitely listen to Afro-Latina people and listen to them explain why they feel unseen in the main cast and why they feel In the Heights didn't necessarily actually represent their experiences and their upbringings as Afro-Latina people, or the experience of Washington Heights as a whole. Please listen to them, do not speak over them, and try to come from a place of understanding and a place of wanting to learn, because if you don't do that, then it's a disservice not only to you but to them. Read a lot of the literature that it talks about the Afro-Latina diaspora and how they come about and their history and their issues and their stereotypes and plights as Afro-Latina people within the Latina community as a whole. Read journalists, writers, everything like that. Support the actors, everything that you can do. So yeah, that is all that I have. If you liked this video and if you're here, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you watched the movie, let me know what your favorite part of the movie is. I will have a bunch of links in the description box for further reading. And that is all. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.